What's up YouTube, Brad Browning here, and in this video you're going to learn why it's possible to repair your marriage by yourself without your spouse's help. Now maybe you're skeptical about whether this is even actually possible, but keep watching and you'll understand why it is possible and how it is indeed very doable for you as well. In fact, not only am I going to show you why this is possible, I'm also going to explain how it can sometimes even be preferable to work on saving your marriage on your own without your spouse being involved or even aware that you're doing anything differently. But before I get into it, please take a quick second to do me a huge favor and click that subscribe button below the video. And don't forget to click the bell icon as well so you get notified when I release new free advice videos like this one in the future. Okay, now let's get started. And first off, it's really important to understand two key facts. Number one, since you're watching this video, it's likely that your spouse is unhappy with your marriage as it stands right now. So in other words, your spouse isn't necessarily unhappy with you, but he or she certainly isn't pleased with your marriage. And that means that a positive change to your relationship, whether it's initiated by you or your spouse, or even if it happens on its own, is likely to change your spouse's feelings about the marriage and make them more likely to buy back in and recommit to a future together. And fact number two is that you and your partner communicate in a revolving stimulus, essentially what's called a response pattern. Now I know this might sound very sciencey, but let me explain briefly what this means because it's actually not that complicated. A response pattern is basically just a cycle where what you do and say is the stimulus, and then your spouse's reaction is the response. And then you then react to their reaction, and so on, the cycle continues. And of course, the same thing occurs when your partner does or says something. You react, they react to your reaction, and so on. And over time, the two of you have developed a pattern of these common actions and reactions. But when the stimulus changes, the response will also change. And this is great news because it usually means that changing your behavior will impact your partner's reaction and the entire relationship more generally. Now, let me explain these two facts a little bit further by using a simple example. Let's imagine that you and your partner always get into arguments about spending holidays with family. Your spouse wants to drive 5 hours every Christmas to have dinner with his or her family, but you hate these big family dinners. So each time your spouse asks you to join on these holiday family trips, you refuse to go or you whine and complain about having to attend, and your spouse then becomes upset. Of course, a big argument then ensues. Your spouse threatens to take the kids and go without you, and then the argument spirals into a bigger debate over your general unwillingness to ever do what your partner wants. Now, in this example, the original issue, or the stimulus, is your spouse's desire to visit family at Christmas. And the reaction, of course, is your refusal to do so. Your spouse then reacts to your reaction with a further complaint. An argument follows and the pattern continues. In the end, you both wind up unhappy and your marriage suffers as a result of this whole fiasco. Now, obviously, when this happens regularly, both of you are going to be unhappy with the marriage and your life in general. Now, I realize at this point you might be wondering, okay, how is all of this actually good news for my marriage? Well, simply put, in the response pattern that I just described, you have the power to disrupt the negative cycle by making a change to the initial action or to the reaction. And this, by itself, can actually help you improve the health of your marriage, all without any involvement from your spouse. So let's go back to the example that I just described a minute ago. Now, what in that case if you had simply agreed to visit your in-laws on Christmas, just like your spouse wanted? Well, then the reaction from your partner in this case would now be a positive one rather than negative. The ensuing argument would no longer happen at all, and therefore there wouldn't be any negative interaction with your spouse in the first place. And this, of course, is going to be a far better outcome for your marriage than if you had put up a fight over the issue. And this all happens without your spouse being aware that you're really doing anything differently at all. Obviously, there are times when you can't, or even shouldn't, simply give in to your spouse's demands and do what he or she wants. But in this particular example, perhaps you can reach a compromise. Maybe you can agree to go and visit your in-laws this year, but not the following year. Or maybe you can agree to stay home for Christmas, but visit your spouse's family over the Easter weekend instead. Now, I know this sounds, pretty obvious and insignificant on the surface, but this type of conflict resolution can actually be invaluable and it can help you save your marriage alone without your spouse's help. Simply put, by making a small change to your own behavior, your partner won't need to use their coping mechanism, and the negative cycle of reactions and actions, it no longer needs to occur at all. And if this happens often enough, a new pattern of behaviors emerges. And assuming the new actions and reactions are positive, then your overall relationship is going to be healthier as a result. Okay, now at the beginning of this video, I promised to tell you why sometimes it can even be better to work on saving your marriage alone without your spouse being aware or involved at all in the process. And it is true. There's actually a couple of reasons why this is often the case. The first reason is because communication isn't always beneficial. See, in many cases, talking with your partner about the problems in your marriage can actually make matters worse rather than better. Now, I know this might seem counterintuitive, but talking through issues tends to simply reinforce your spouse's belief that the marriage does indeed have real problems. And it helps your spouse to focus on those specific problems. In other words, it's usually better for you and your spouse to be spending quality, positive time together than it is to revisit the same issues and arguments over and over again by discussing them together. By taking the first steps on your own, you can help to create this more positive atmosphere in your marriage without reminding your spouse about the problems that led you to this point. Now, the second benefit is that when you're working on your marriage by yourself, you can actually begin to make changes immediately. Unlike, with traditional marriage counseling where it might take weeks or even months to make progress, especially if you're only seeing the therapist, every so often, changes to your own behavior and to the stimulus response cycle that I described earlier, they can begin immediately. And that means that you can begin to work on mending your marriage today as soon as you finish watching this video. So there you have it, folks. Not only is it possible to start fixing your marriage alone and without your spouse's help, it's actually sometimes even beneficial to do so. Now, I do want to warn you, though, that what I've discussed in this video is just the very tip of the iceberg. If you're serious about repairing your marriage, don't stop here. Right now, it's time to watch my full marriage-saving tutorial video, which you can do for free at marriageguy.com. And please don't wait. Watch the video today, right now, while there's still hope left to save your marriage. And again, you can watch my full free video at marriageguy.com. Thanks so much for watching, YouTube, and I wish you the very best. I'll see you in the next video.